One of them was married to two country legends and outlived them both. One sang backup on records that sold millions. You never knew his name. One wrote a song that punk bands were still covering 60 years later.
I wanna go home.
These are not the names on the posters. These are the people who built the stage. Part 2, the 10 more of the oldest country artists still living in 2026. Let's count them down. Number 10, DavidAllanCoe. You never even called.
Well, it was all I could do.
A honky-tonk at last call, sawdust on the floor, a man at the end of the bar who looks like he has lived every single thing he is about to sing. That is the world DavidAllanCoe came from. Born in Akron, Ohio, Coe spent much of his early life in reform schools and prison before arriving in Nashville and busking on the street outside the Ryman. He signed with Columbia Records and became a defining voice of the 1970s outlaw movement. You Never Even Called Me By My Name, written by Steve Goodman and John Prine, became his signature hit in 1975. He also wrote Would You Lay With Me for Tanya Tucker and Take This Job and Shove It for Johnny Paycheck, which hit #1 and inspired a movie.
You don't have to call.
Steve Goodman originally wrote the song as a joke, a parody of every country cliche. Good mama, trains, trucks, prison, getting drunk, all in one song. Coe recorded it straight-faced and turned it into a classic. Sometimes the best country songs start as a punchline.
Call me darling, darling.
Always too rough for mainstream Nashville and too country for rock radio, he lived in the space between, and that is exactly where the most honest music lives.
You never even called me by my...
At 86, one of the last true outlaws still standing.
Hello, I'm Johnny Kaye.
If you love real country music and the stories behind the legends, make sure you subscribe to Country Deep Dive. This channel is for people who truly appreciate the roots of country. Many of these country legends are slowly being forgotten, but their stories deserve to live on. By subscribing, you're helping keep their music and legacy alive for the next generation. And if these songs bring back memories for you, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It's completely free, and it helps us continue sharing the classic country stories that made this music so special. Number 9, Norman Blake, Church Street Blues.
Lord, I've been hanging out uptown in that low-down rain.
A back porch in the Tennessee hills, no electricity, no amplification, just a guitar and a man who never left the world he came from.
Watching Good Time Charlie Friends is driving me insane.
Born in Sulphur Springs, Georgia, Norman Blake is one of the greatest acoustic flat pickers who ever lived. His guitar is on Bob Dylan's Nashville Skyline, Chris Christopherson's early recordings, and the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack.
Down on shady Charlotte Street, the green lights look red.
Church Street Blues on Rounder Records in 1972 became his signature original quiet, honest Americana that showed exactly who he was.
Wish I was back home on the farm in my feather bed.
When Oh Brother won the Grammy for Album of the Year in 2002, a whole generation found Norman Blake for the first time. He had been recording since the 1950s. The music was there the whole time.
Get myself a rocking chair to see if I could lose.
Never chased commercial country, stayed acoustic, stayed honest. At 88, a living definition of artistic integrity.
Thin time, hard time, hell on Church Street Blues.
The next artist went from Ohio housewife to holding country music's longest female #1 record, all in the space of about 12 months. Number 8, Connie Smith, Once a Day.
When you found somebody new, I thought
Nashville, 1964. A young Ohio housewife walks into a recording studio for the first time. 12 months earlier, she was nobody's idea of a country star. Then she opened her mouth and everything changed.
I never would forget you.
Discovered by Bill Anderson at an Ohio talent contest in 1963, Connie Smith was brought to Nashville, signed to RCA Victor, and given a song Anderson had written for her.
I thought then I never could.
Once a Day hit #1 country in November 1964 and held the top spot for 8 consecutive weeks, the longest run at #1 by any female country artist in history. That record stood for 48 years until Taylor Swift broke it in 2012.
The time has taken all the pains away.
Before that talent contest in Ohio, she had never performed in front of a large crowd in her life. No stage experience, no professional training, just the voice. And the voice was enough.
Until now, I'm
As Nashville moved toward pop production in the 1970s, Smith stepped back to focus on her faith and family. She returned to the Opry stage and still performs.
down to hurting once a day.
At 84, she carries one of the greatest voices in country music history. She always did. Number 7, Sonny Curtis. I Fought the Law.
I needed money, I had none.
West Texas, late 1950s, sandstorm outside. A young man with a guitar writes a song about breaking rocks in the hot sun. 20 minutes, one of the most recognizable hooks in American music history.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and
Buddy Holly's guitarist. When Holly died in the 1959 plane crash, Curtis stepped into the crickets.
the law won. I live my big
I Fought the Law was recorded in 1959 and released in 1960. The Bobby Fuller 4 took it to the top 10 in 1966. The Clash made it a punk anthem in 1979. Green Day covered it in 1992.
and I feel so bad. I guess my race is run.
He also wrote Walk Right Back for the Everly Brothers, the Mary Tyler Moore theme, and I'm No Stranger to the Rain, a #1 for Keith Whitley in 1989. Hits in 4 decades across country, pop, rock, and television.
But she's the best thing I ever had. I fought the law.
He wrote I Fought the Law in about 20 minutes, his most important copyright.
The law won. I fought the law and the law won.
6 decades of royalties from one West Texas afternoon, Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a cricket. At 88, one of the most important unsung writers in American music. His name deserves to be said out loud. The next artist was the first woman to ever record a full album with George Jones. Nashville barely remembers her name. That is one of country music's quiet injustices. Number 6, Margie Singleton. Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Well, the Joneses bought a new house.
The Louisiana Hayride, late 1950s. A woman from Coushatta, Louisiana, with a warm, vibrato-rich voice that didn't sound like anyone else in the room. That was Margie Singleton.
We did too.
Then a new car.
Signed to Starday Records in 1957, she debuted on the Louisiana Hayride in 1958 and became the first female artist to record a full album with George Jones.
So we bought one too.
Keeping Up with the Joneses with Farron Young hit number 5 country in 1964. She also wrote songs recorded by Tammy Wynette and Charlie Pride, still recording gospel in Tennessee at 90.
'Cause we had to keep up with.
Margie Singleton recorded Leroy Van Dyke's Walk On By as one of her own singles the same song from part 1 of this countdown. She was always doing something unexpected, making other people's big hits her own.
The Joneses. It was
Then one of the most gifted female voices of her era. Consistently overlooked, she returned to her faith and never looked back. That is country music's loss and her gain. Number 5, Phil Balsley, Flowers on the Wall. 10 CMA awards total. They retired in 2002. Balsley, the quiet one, was 86 years old and the last original member standing. Statler brothers named themselves after a brand of facial tissues spotted on a bathroom shelf before a gig. A name from a bathroom shelf became one of the most recognized in country music history.
Lots of fun, counting flowers on the wall. That don't bother.
In nearly 5 decades as the quiet foundation of one of country's greatest groups, didn't write the songs, didn't take the spotlight, just showed up and sang. At 86, that is its own kind of legacy.
Me at all. Playing solitaire till dawn.
The next entry is where the real controversy lives. A story about an outsider, a door that barely opened, and what it says about who country music has always decided belongs. Number 4, Mimi Roman, first of the Brooklyn Cowgirls.
Well, I never felt more like singing.
Brooklyn, New York, 1964, not where country music was supposed to come from. Mimi Roman didn't ask Nashville's permission, she just showed up and dared the industry to ignore her.
I never thought that I'd ever lose your love.
Born in Brooklyn, she performed as Kitty Ford for pop material and under her own name for country. Her 1964 album, First of the Brooklyn Cowgirls, says everything, no apology, no pretending to be from somewhere more acceptable, just the truth on the cover.
Why'd you do me this way?
Nashville in the 1960s had a very specific idea of what country music was supposed to look like. Where it came from, who sang it, the South, small towns, farms and churches.
And I never felt more like crying each night.
A Jewish woman from Brooklyn didn't fit that story. Some people say Roman faced a quiet but consistent resistance, not outright rejection, but studied indifference.
Everything's wrong and nothing ain't right without you.
Bookings that never came through, radio stations that passed, label support that never fully showed up. There are different versions of how much of this was about identity and how much was just ordinary industry struggle.
You got me singing the blues.
What is documented is she had real talent, a real following, and a real recording career that never got the platform it deserved.
Well, the moon and stars no longer shine. The dream.
In a genre that talks constantly about authenticity, a woman from Brooklyn who refused to pretend otherwise was, in many ways, the most honest person in the room.
Is gone, I thought was mine. There's nothing left for me.
Country music has always been more complicated than the story it tells about itself. Number 3, Bobby Bare, Detroit City.
I wanna go home.
A Greyhound bus pulling into a cold northern city, factory smoke in the air, a man far from home thinking about the life he left behind, that quiet loneliness. That's where Bobby Bare lived musically.
I wanna go home.
Born in Ironton, Ohio, Bobby Bare came up the hard way working odd jobs, even losing a finger in a factory accident before music gave him a way out.
Oh, how I wanna go.
His breakthrough came with Detroit City in 1963, a song about homesickness that hit both the country and pop charts and became one of the defining records of the era.
Last night.
He went on to record for RCA Victor alongside legends like Chet Atkins, and became one of the most consistent voices of the 1960s and 70s.
I went to sleep in Detroit City.
He also helped bring songwriter Shel Silverstein into country music.
And I dreamed about those.
Bobby Bare's album Lullabies, Legends and Lies, 1973, was one of the first country concept albums built entirely around Shel Silverstein's writing long before story albums became a trend.
Cotton fields and home.
He never chased the spotlight the way others did. No scandals, no reinventions, just decades of recording songs about working people, heartbreak, and survival, and doing it better than almost anyone else.
I dreamed about my mother.
At 91, Bobby Bare is still standing as one of country music's purest storytellers, a bridge between the Nashville sound and the outlaw spirit that followed. Number 2, Donna Stoneman. Tupelo County Jail, the Blue Ridge Mountains, a family who didn't choose the music, it chose them, going back generations. Donna Stoneman grew up in that world and never left it. Her father, Ernest Pop Stoneman, began recording in 1924, 2 years before the Bristol Sessions. He was making records before the genre had a name. The family performed together for decades.
Why don't you write me a letter? Send that letter.
Tupelo County Jail was their biggest country chart entry in 1968. The Stoneman family is in the Country Music Hall of Fame. The Stonemans were among the first country families on national television in the 1960s, bringing mountain music into living rooms, while Nashville's polished sound pushed the genre in a completely different direction. At 92, she carries a living memory of American music stretching back to the 1920s. Every fan of this genre owes it to themselves to know the Stoneman name. Number 1, Johnny Western, The Ballad of Paladin. Hollywood, 1958. A TV show needs a theme. A young singer from Minnesota writes one as a thank you note. That song ran on CBS every week for 6 years. Johnny Western wrote it. Most people never knew his name. Born in Two Harbors, Minnesota, he fell in love with cowboy music at age 5 watching a Gene Autry movie. He signed with Autry, then joined the Johnny Cash Road Show in 1958 and stayed for nearly 40 years.
Armor in a savage land.
He played on 68 Cash singles. He wrote The Ballad of Paladin after appearing in an episode of Have Gun Will Travel. As a thank you to star Richard Boone, it landed him a Columbia Records deal.
His fast gun for hire, he's the calling wind.
He was part of the Johnny Cash Road Show from 1958 all the way to 1997, nearly 40 years. He watched Cash go from rising star to living legend and was standing right there for almost all of it.
A soldier of fortune is the man called.
At 91, in the Western Music Association Hall of Fame and the Country Music Disc Jockey Hall of Fame. He carried cowboy music forward when Nashville stopped caring about it. He did it quietly from the side for 6 decades. That deserves to be remembered.